Hi, Teresa Brett from parentingforsocialchange.com. Thanks for joining me in my video today. Over the last couple of days, I've been thinking a bit about conflict and the ways in which often as adults and parents we're uncomfortable with conflict. And in reflecting on that discomfort and in talking with parents about conflict and how we handle conflict with the children in our lives, I've been thinking about the ways in which our own childhood experiences around conflict really frame our view of conflict and the role that conflict can play in our lives. So often when we grow up in this paradigm of control in which adults use control over children, one form of control is really coming in and forcing a particular resolution on a conflict between two children. So often as children, we're not allowed to figure out how to manage the conflicts in our lives. And because probably our own parents or the adults who were in our lives were uncomfortable with conflict themselves, they came in and they wanted to end the conflict as quickly as possible. They didn't want to hear the arguing. That's what I would hear as a child. That's what I heard other parents tell me as well from their own childhood. There was not a lot of patience among adults around dealing with the conflicts that come up as part of life, as part of the ways in which we come to life with different experiences and perspectives and needs and wants from other people around us. And so we grow up with this view of conflict as a very negative thing, as one that needs to have some kind of externally imposed control and needs to be resolved as quickly as possible. And yet conflict can be a really great learning opportunity. When we're uncomfortable with the conflict either that we're experiencing directly with the child in our life, if we're uncomfortable being sort of on the sidelines or witnessing conflict between the children in our lives, whether it's between siblings or a child in our life and their friend, or a parent and our child, whatever it may be, that's really a great learning opportunity, because that discomfort tells us something about ourselves. And if we can move into that discomfort, accept that discomfort as the opportunity for learning, we really can begin to understand the ways in which our own experiences of conflict may be, then we may be recreating that with the children in our lives. In fact, conflict can be reframed as a positive thing. Conflict doesn't have to be a bad thing. We can learn from each other and the different perspectives that we bring to the conversations that we have, to the relationships that we have. And so often, even in my own life, having done dialogue work and conflict management work in a number of settings, I still become uncomfortable with conflict. And it's just another opportunity for me to explore, why am I uncomfortable? What does conflict represent to me? And how can I shift my frame of reference about the conflict? How can the conflict be an opportunity for me to understand another person much more deeply? How is it an opportunity for me to understand myself much more deeply? And how can I come to the conflict from a place of openness and authenticity at the same time, so that instead of seeing conflict and opposing viewpoints or opposing needs as on opposite ends of the spectrum that somehow we're never going to be able to meet in the middle, I can instead say, in being open, in being authentic in that conflict, try to come to a place where I can understand someone else much more than I was willing to before. We see conflict and differences in opinions and perspectives from other people often as a challenge to our own perspective. And in some ways it could be a challenge, but it could be a positive challenge. So each time that we come into conflict and we're feeling that uncomfortable feeling, and we get kind of tense about it, we could breathe. We could lean into that discomfort and the conflict, and we could try to learn from that opportunity, whether it's with the children in our lives, whether it's with a partner or a co-parent, extended family, whoever it may be. That conflict can be such a fabulous learning opportunity if we're willing to embrace the discomfort of it and move into it and be with it in ways that we never learned as children. we can learn that as adults, and then we can create that for the children in our lives as well, so that they learn a different way of seeing conflict, not as a negative, but as a positive force where we can create greater understanding. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you for your commitment to transforming childhood and parenting and transforming the world.